This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo with your latest forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. This for Wednesday, November the 15th. All right, there is a lot to get into. There are going to be many areas here of the Caribbean and the Bahamas that are going to see some extreme weather over the next several days and through the weekend. So we're going to take it real nice and slow in this forecast. We're going to break it down for you here. I've got a lot of information to kind of go over, but again, we've got a couple of areas of very high interest for us here. Now, let's take a look at what we have in the broad perspective. We still have two areas of potential tropical development, but I'm telling you right now, regardless of development of each of these areas, my thinking on the impacts they're going to bring are going to be very little changed whether we get a tropical depression in the Caribbean or even a tropical storm, or this just stays a disturbance. And then the one in the northern Bahamas more than likely isn't going to develop into a tropical system, but it is going to bring a lot of wind to that area. So we're going to take it real slow here, break it down, just kind of go day by day as I get started. Thank you very much for liking this video. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what the weather is like in your area, how things are progressing for you. Now, on this Wednesday afternoon, we continue to monitor the Southwest Caribbean for a little bit of development. The Hurricane Center has dropped the chance down to 50%. Now, again, I don't have that really impacting how this is going to impact places like Jamaica and Eastern Cuba, Hispaniola, even some of the coastline of Central America, because the biggest threat with this was always going to be about the rain. I do want you to note, though, in this enhanced satellite imagery, we're just seeing a first flare-up of really intense storms in a concentrated area. Remember, the last several days, really the last week, this was such a broad system. Well, it is getting a little bit more concentrated on this Wednesday afternoon. An aircraft reconnaissance plane is going to go out and investigate this system tomorrow on Thursday, and that's going to be vital to get that actual ground truth information as they fly in and out of this storm, because when you're dealing with an area that's so broad, we really need those planes to go in and out to determine what kind of winds are really there, and do we have a closed center of circulation? That certainly doesn't appear to be the case at this point in time, but it may progress in the next 24 to 36 hours. There's still a lot of rich tropical moisture. There's going to be some heavy rain for places like Panama and portions of Costa Rica, and then right along the coastline of other areas of Central America, especially across the eastern coastlines of Nicaragua and in Honduras. Some of that will slide up towards portions of Belize, but really it's more concentrated off towards the south right now, especially into Panama. You can just see that rich tropical moisture there. Generally speaking, the ABC Islands are far enough off towards the east, where we're not going to see big impacts out of there for places like Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. But you can see those storms are really beginning to flare up. Water vapor imagery here at the upper levels again. Nice little flare up there of moisture. Lower levels of the atmosphere as well. Again, looking a little bit more concentrated more than anything else. And then we can switch over to the actual visible satellite imagery here. I love this because, of course, we're looking at this during the day. And again, just a nice little twist to the clouds here. Put that into motion over the last 6 hours. Nice little blow up right there. You can see that bright white, but I love this imagery. Again, love to show you the visible satellite imagery when I can. And you can just see there's a lot of moisture, but we are beginning to see it a little bit more concentrated Southwest Gulf. Real quickly up here, again, no developing low as of yet. We do have one developing in the Gulf of Mexico. Gale force warnings are up all over the place, but beginning tomorrow in the northwest Bahamas, we could get a secondary area of low pressure to develop there. Okay. So let's kind of break down what's going to be happening here in the short term. Get back over to the IR imagery. So again, heavy rain for portions of Central America. We're going to start to see some of this moisture move in today in places like Jamaica. Some rain for the Cayman Islands, but I still am not concerned overall about the amount of rain this will bring to the Cayman Islands, as most of that will be off towards the west. This is really the last day to have at least some fair weather in these areas. Now we're getting more clouds in Jamaica, in places like Kingston and Mandeville and Maypen and Montego Bay. We'll start to see more rain into the picture late on Wednesday, and then really things go downhill on Thursday, and that will include Haiti and the Dominican Republic and Eastern Cuba. So Again, you know, a decent day on this Wednesday, but we're starting to see that tropical moisture move up to the north and to the east. So let's break down what's going to be happening with this storm. Now, again, the models are trending slightly weaker, but there is still a decent chance of tropical development, meaning that we get at least a tropical depression. But as I've mentioned the last several days, again, when you're talking about a tropical depression, a tropical storm, the only factor is the maximum sustained winds. It has nothing to do with the actual rainfall. In a weak, broad system that's slowly moving like this one, the biggest impact is more than likely going to be the rain, and that could be significant rain for portions of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and the eastern side of Cuba. And that, again, I think is going to be the biggest concern that I have here with this. So again, as we go through this Wednesday, we'll start to see some showers move into Jamaica. It'll be some tropical downpours, some heavier rain from time to time, but nothing too concentrated until we get into our Thursday. Take a look again. This is going to be, the model time frame is on the top left of your screen. This is going to be tomorrow afternoon. You can see some of that heavier rain breaking out. Now the GFS model is beginning to paint on a little bit more heavy rain for Jamaica compared to the last couple of days. I mentioned it that I didn't think that the western side of the island was going to get an inch and the eastern side of the island was going to get 8 inches. It was going to be probably somewhere in between, and I hope no more than that. But you can see that on Thursday and then into Friday the 17th, that's where we really see some heavier rain, and then it begins to pull away. So for Jamaica, tomorrow and Friday, and at least through early on Saturday, is the time frame I have for the best chance for the most significant rain. Flooding rain is a possibility. Please check in with your local officials and your local government for any flood statements that might be issued in Jamaica because of this. Now again, we swing over north and east and we start to see that heavier rain move into places like Haiti and Port-au-Prince throughout the day on Friday. So even the Dominican Republic and Haiti might have some rain tomorrow, but it's really Friday, Saturday, and then in the weekend that we start to see the heavier rain move there. And again, this is a meandering system. It's not picking up forward speed until it gets north of Hispaniola. So it's really slow movement. That means there's going to be a lot of rain over one area for an extended amount of time. And when you're talking about a high terrain island like Hispaniola, mudslides and life-threatening flash flooding come with this kind of event. Please check in with your local officials for any flood statements or emergency preparedness you need to do across the island, because again, I think the rainfall is going to be fairly significant here. Now, as we get into Saturday, we will see some heavier rain for the Turks and Caicos. I'm not as concerned in the Turks and Caicos because now we pick up some forward speed, and this should quickly race its way off towards the east. It will bring some rain to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and portions of the northern Leeward Islands, but nowhere near enough to cause any real problems. There could be a decent downpour in Puerto Rico, but overall, a flood potential I'm not as concerned about for sure. So again, Jamaica, Hispaniola, eastern Cuba. Let's take a look at the total precipitation here on the model and swing this into motion for you here. And you're just going to see a lot of rain along that path. Okay, significant amounts of rain. Again, GFS model has been pretty consistent with this. It's still basically slicing Jamaica in half, if you will, and then bringing extremely heavy rain to portions of Hispaniola and the eastern tip of Cuba. And the other models are in agreement with these kinds of rainfall totals. So this takes us out until, I'll go ahead and extend it all the way out until Sunday afternoon, and then we'll take a look. Here, let me get it back out to Sunday afternoon. There we go, Sunday at 7 p.m. So again, now the GFS model is just ever so slightly farther off towards the west. And I mentioned this yesterday. Again, now it's bringing some of that heavier rain, and let me zoom out just a little bit here and get out of the way. It's still painting on kind of a solution I don't buy, that we have a foot of rain in the eastern side of the island and we have barely any towards Negril and Montego Bay. But there does look to be some kind of gradient from west to east, where generally speaking, the heavier rain may fall in the central and the eastern sides of the island. But I expect, you know, maybe up to this amount in the eastern side, but more on the western side than what the GFS model is showing. And the European model does have more rain compared to the GFS in general. But the potential for some significant rain in Jamaica. And again, a lot of this, when I back this up here, you'll see, and let me just clear off those numbers real quick. You'll see that the rain really begins to fall heavily Thursday and into Friday. And it's Thursday and Friday that you actually get most of your rain, and then everything moves away from that. So Thursday, Friday, early Saturday. That's the time frame for Jamaica. As we pick it up on Friday evening and then into Saturday and Sunday, now it's Hispaniola and Cuba that has that higher rain falling in those areas. And again, we go out to Sunday evening, and even on the Dominican Republic side, we're going to have some heavier rain, 4, maybe 5 inches of rain in some spots, but it is the Haiti side right now, especially the far western tip of Haiti, that could see over 1 foot of rain on the GFS model, even towards Port-au-Prince, 5-6 inches of rain. Some of the higher terrain, a few inches, let's say anywhere from 3 to 6, just depending. Again, that could easily prompt life-threatening mudslides and flash flooding in that area. It's beginning to get a little bit more concerning for the Turks and Caicos, to where some of that heavier rain is getting closer towards Matthewtown. We're still only painting on a couple of inches of rain, but that bullseye is just off to your south. What I would say is what we really want to see is an acceleration of this and pull that heavier rain out very, very quickly. So the rain is the big threat. Let's take a look at the winds here, and then we'll look at the NAM model as well. So we'll switch over to our wind product here. And again, you're going to see winds that are not as concentrated and are not as strong overall with this system, all right? Certainly, again, the possibility to still get at least a tropical depression. But again, that's just a magnitude of the wind. And when you're talking about sustained winds of around 40 miles an hour, even if we get a weak tropical storm, sure, that could knock down some power lines, especially when you're talking about saturated soil with the heavier rains. But is it going to be a tremendous wind impact event? No. But the combination of some strong gusty winds and the heavy rain in the saturated ground could lead to some additional issues that I'll be monitoring as well. But again, if I kind of stop it here, and the GFS has always been trying to kind of spin this up right on the western side of Hispaniola there. And again, the winds would support more of a tropical depression rather than a tropical storm at this point in time. And again, we need a close center of circulation if that's even going to happen. And then as the system moves up to the north and to the east, you see a nice little maximum of wind right there. That would kind of try and keep at least part of the core just offshore. But again, the GFS model in general brings that broad center of circulation right over Hispaniola, which should rip it apart if that ends up being the correct solution. And then it merges with this frontal boundary, as the non-tropical low off of the Bahamas is going to do, and everything races north and to the east in a real quick amount of time. So that is the evolution of this system. Again, real quickly, back to the total precipitation here. I do want to mention our friends in Central America real fast with this. We kind of talked about where it's going, but again, the rainfall back into Panama could be very extensive. Okay, they could see with that rich south wind and all of the moisture that's going to be flowing over the area, they could have maybe up to 1 foot of rain or close in a couple of spots. Okay, so, you know, again, even portions of Central America could get hit really hard with this, especially on the eastern sides of Panama. Not as much for Costa Rica, but some rain. And again, right along the immediate coastline of Nicaragua and Honduras, we could have a few inches of rain. Those are the only other areas that could have some decent rain out of this particular system. So that's what's happening here with this one. But that is half of the story, friends. Let's get into what's going to be happening in the Bahamas. Okay, it is an overcast, breezy Wednesday in the Bahamas, but there's a lot more wind and rain that's going to be moving into the area. Again, there's just a 10% chance that this becomes tropical, but that's really not the big story. The big story is going to be the gale force winds that'll be developing tomorrow morning and then sticking around at least for a day, if not even 2 days, in portions of the central and the northwest Bahamas. Because it's so pretty, I'm going to go back over to our visible satellite imagery here. And again, it is clear to see that there's a non-tropical low already developing in the northern Gulf of Mexico where they have gale warnings. Then a secondary area of a non-tropical low is going to more than likely try and form basically over Bimini in the northwest Bahamas as we get into tomorrow morning. And that deepening low is going to spin up some incredible wind and potentially even some very heavy rainfall in that area. It could be a 1-2 punch. The winds are going to be a big story, but there could be some heavy rain out of this as well. So let's kind of take a look at the evolution of this with a couple of different models. We'll swing over here. First of all, I want to show you the HRRR model, the high resolution rapid refresh. We're going to take a look first of all at the we're going to look at the winds first, actually. So let me get the right time frame here. And as I'm doing this, again, if you wouldn't mind liking this video, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, if you want the latest information out of this, again, we got you covered here at Meteo Mundo. Keep up to date. Let anyone who lives in these areas know what's coming if maybe you don't think they have the best idea of the impactful weather here over the next several days. So for my friends in the Northwest Bahamas, take a look at the winds that this HRRR model is developing. We'll take it step by step. Again, for the remainder of today, we're going to have some winds 20 to 30 knots. There is a gale warning already in effect, and that is going to extend in time at least through tomorrow and more than likely Friday. There's no end time at this point in time, but gale conditions are likely the next several days, I'll put you that way, in the central and the Northwest Bahamas, because the winds are only going to get worse as we get into tomorrow. Look at the low here as we get into Thursday morning, beginning to develop right over the Northwest Bahamas and Bimini. And you're going to start to see some extreme wind out of the HRRR model. But again, a gale warning is for winds of 39 to 54 miles an hour or even higher, okay? 39 to 54 with some higher gusts. Now, again, this HRRR model could be a little overdoing it. I want you to notice one reason why. If you look to the east of the Bahamas and then that core, we actually have kind of a clashing of the two. Winds are gonna be kind of coming together, and right where they meet, the HRRR model is bringing on some extreme winds here. So if I bring this back out, you're looking at winds of over 50 and 60 miles an hour within that core. Again, maybe in a very concentrated area, but the gale warning is 39 to 54. So as we take a look across the islands here, and we'll go back out in time. So for our Thursday morning, look at these winds begin to move over Grand Bahama, where we have some winds for Freeport and Lucaya up towards Walker's Key, which again, on this HRRR model, are over 50 miles an hour. Allenstown, it's about the same. You get back down towards Nassau, that kind of tends to be a little bit of a break there. As this low is tracking north and east, we're going to get some solid winds in Nassau, maybe 30 to 40 miles an hour. Same thing for Eleuthera, 30 to 40, but it's really Abaco and Grand Bahama and Walker's Key that could really feel the brunt of this. So for Marsh Harbor, again, don't take one number, but we look at these averages, and it's well over 40 to 50 miles an hour for a time. Now, as we go through the day on Thursday, this should begin to pick up some speed and try and get out of here with still gusty winds on Friday, but beginning to pull the core of this to the north and to the east. So I do believe that the worst wind will be tomorrow. Still very, very windy on Friday, but beginning to relax, a bit. It's all relative. You got 30 knot plus winds on Friday, and then that low, as it pulls away, will finally relax the winds a bit, but still a very breezy forecast. And look, even the central Bahamas is in on this as well. Again, not as much wind in these areas. Let me get back out to tomorrow here. I want to bring this back out. You can see, even down towards Georgetown, 30-mile-an-hour winds. Authorstown from time to time, 30-mile-an-hour winds as well. So big story for the Bahamas is the wind. It's completely opposite of Jamaica and Haiti and the Dominican Republic and Cuba, two different tropical systems or non-tropical systems, bringing two different higher end variables, but some significant weather there. Now let's look at the reflectivity. Let's look at the rain here. Let me clear this off and I'll put this into motion. And again, we are looking at the potential for some significant rain that comes along with this. As this low tries to deepen, there's a lot of moisture to play with here. There's a frontal boundary that is stalling out. So there is lift in the atmosphere, okay? So this low is developing off an old front that's going to be stalling out, and then when you have that lift in the atmosphere, it's not hard to get some heavier rain. And so it's like a 1-2 punch here tomorrow. With the gale force winds, you could have some very heavy rainfall for all of the central and the Northwest Bahamas. That is significant rain there. When we take a look at the actual total precipitation for us here, let me switch over to that. Very high numbers, and this is just over the next 48 hours. Now, I think that's when the majority of this heavier rain is going to fall. And again, the HRRR model is very aggressive, but I'm going to show you the GFS model as well. And again, for anyone thinking or saying, oh, Rusty, this is the GFS model, it's always too aggressive. This is not. This is the high resolution rapid refresh. It only goes out 48 hours because it updates hourly. And what you're going to be seeing here on this model are rainfall totals in portions of the Northwest Bahamas that go over 10 inches of rain. Now, there's a defined swath from basically Island Murata and Key Largo that kind of cuts through the northern side of Andros here towards our friends in the Andros town area. Let me drop that down. There's San Andros right there at 10 inches of rain. Again, this is the northern side of the island of Andros. 6 to 8, 9 inches of rain. Nassau, not as much for New Providence. Same thing for northern Eleuthera, 4 to 5. And then here's this swath, mainly in the open waters, except for our friends in Bimini, where, again, we could have some heavier rain there. That's not Bimini. Here's Bimini right there. 3, 4 inches of rain. And then as we get into Abaco, that would be the area with the most significant rain. The interesting thing is that it doesn't have a ton for Grand Bahama, and the same thing for Walker's Key. So there's a swath of heavier rain, probably where that low is deepening and moving north and east. Is this, going to be the path, or is it going to be farther south or farther north? That obviously is yet to be determined, but just like the other system, the models are painting on an extreme rainfall event where that low is deepening and tracking. So I'm going to switch over to the GFS model and look at the total precipitation. And again, I'm just going to go out 48 hours, just like the other model did, and I'm going to loop this. And you're going to see it's about the same area, okay? It's about the same area coming off of the coastline of Florida and then through the Northwest Bahamas for some spots that could get more than a foot of rain or so. So this is the GFS model, and we'll take a look at that. And again, it has Marsh Harbor at around 4 or 5. There's your maximum of 7 to 8. Again, not as much as the HRRR, but still very significant rain for Bimini. You get back towards Andros and Nassau. Again, it's not as much. It's a few inches of rain. And part of this is the fact that the HRRR model is a little bit slower with the low and a little bit deeper with the low, okay? The GFS doesn't develop this as quickly and moves it a little bit faster north and east. But you get the idea that significant rain for the central and the Northwest Bahamas to go along with this gale force wind. So we've got some extreme weather through a good chunk of our area, friends. You can see those two. So several more things I want to get into. I've shown you a few of the models here. Let me get into some other portions of this as well. I'm going to have to do this potentially manually. We'll see how this works out. Okay, so the European model pressure track over the weekend. We're going to take a look at both. The European model clearly shows that low developing in the Northwest Bahamas, and then it has a very weak low kind of meandering over Jamaica and eastern Cuba and Hispaniola, and then pulls off north into the east. So again, it supports a tropical depression, more than likely no more than that. But again, the slow movement of our system in the Southwest Caribbean moving northeast brings the excessive rainfall threat. There's your low, which in some ways might even be a little bit stronger core than here. But again, a very low chance this is actually tropical, more than likely to be a hybrid system, and then it does race off to the north and to the east. Let me see if the next slide works. Okay, good, it does. All right, so let me move this over, and we're going to look at the European rainfall totals. Now, I've shown you this map the last several days. Again, bottom of your screen, the maximum on this map through Saturday night, 0Z Sunday, is 24.5 inches of rain. It's actually higher than the last couple. So somewhere on this map, the European model is showing you 24.5 inches of rain. If you look at the key here, if you look at your legend, that's right there, just south of eastern Cuba, very near Jamaica. Again, the European model has more rain for Jamaica overall. It actually has slightly less for portions of Hispaniola, but still heavy rain over the Haiti side, and then it does have significant rain here through the Northwest and the central Bahamas as well. But again, along this path is where we're going to see some very significant rain potential over the next several days, beginning in Jamaica tomorrow, and then beginning in Cuba and Hispaniola beginning on our Friday. So let's talk about the areas that should be on alert. For the flooding rain threat, still some wind potential, but the flooding rain threat in general, Jamaica, eastern Cuba, Haiti, in the Dominican Republic. The gale warning is up right now. Those are 39 to 54 mile-an-hour winds for the Northwest and the central Bahamas. There's also an excessive rainfall watch as well. Again, please check in with your local officials and your local government for any statements on the potential severe weather of any kind that's moving into your area. And of course, for any emergency preparedness that you need to maybe be heeding as well. Now, in between these videos, we are all across social media. If you're on the go, find us on Instagram, on TikTok. We have a Facebook page, and you can email us at mymeteomundo@gmail.com. If you have some pictures or some video you'd like to send us, you can do that by emailing us at mymeteomundo@gmail.com. When we had that heavier rain in Belize about 10 days ago, we had some videos sent to us on our Instagram page, and you can do that as well. Send that to us. We would appreciate that. Just want to kind of keep up to date on everything. So again, these are our two areas that we're monitoring for us here. Now, in between these forecast updates, we are live streaming our system. What you're going to see, all these numbers are your live temperatures. You're going to get live real-time satellite data. You're going to get live real-time radar data as well. So you can see here on this system, if I take off the yellow area here, just to kind of give you guys an idea, this is the live radar, and you can see some of that heavier rain. Let me even get rid of the satellite data as well. You can see some of the heavier rain already developing in the northwest Bahamas. It's going to be a wet forecast there, but all of that information is available here just by going to the live tab. We stream this almost 24/7 in between these. And of course, this is something I'm going to keep a very vigilant eye on, friends. I think I'll be doing some lives as well. I'll be coming on live, and we can be talking and interacting as these two systems develop. We'll keep you updated. Again, thank you so much for liking the video and helping to support us here at Meteo Mundo. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'll be back shortly, friends, right here at Meteo Mundo.